I just know that he was so caught up on his fix from me that he started not to care who was around. And when I say that, I mean more like, I also remember laying in the bed. My brother would be asleep at the foot of my bed. My brother was little at this time, like maybe 4 or 5. And he would again come and touch me while I was sleeping, like my arms. As I got older, I did everything to not let it happen in secret. So like, I would wake up as he's trying, and I would, what are you doing? And I would get up, or I would wake up and he would like hide, but I knew he was there, and I would go to the bathroom. Or I would go to my mom's. And it was like, the older I got, the more he tried to do it in secret, and the more I would avoid it in secret. I guess he thought because I was getting older that I would tell on him, but I was already telling on him since the get-go, so like, I don't understand it. But I just remember I hated my mom for the longest. And one day I told her again. And I remember her telling me, okay, like, I'm going to the cops today. And I was like, for real? And she was like, yes. I'm tired of you telling me this. And I got scared again because it was finally going to come out into the light and everybody was going to know. I was terrified. And why was I terrified and scared when I should have been happy that it was something finally was going to happen? I think we drove to the police station. I just remember I started to go to counseling for it. My mom left him. We moved into a different house in town because we used to live out of town. It was in town, but it was like out of city limits. So we moved in town. I was going to counseling. Around this time, I was in junior high. I remember his name was Brent because he was like, it's like the phone service Sprint, but with a B. And that just stuck with me. He was this tall, kind of stocky guy with glasses. I remember kind of being ashamed to talk to him because he was a guy. I don't remember if I went into detail with him how I'm going into detail now. But I do remember we had sessions and he would have me draw and I would talk and he would take notes. But I remember one day he told my mom that he didn't think I needed counseling anymore, and I remember telling him what he wanted to hear. I'm very private. I used to be a very private person. I remember when it came out to light, my family was like, why didn't you tell me, mija? I would have done something. And I'm just like, because my mom told me not to tell nobody. So I listened to her. I remember my family and they were concerned. What else could they do? I remember he took a lie detector test and he passed it. And I remember my mom coming to me and she was like, are you sure this happened to you? And I'm just like, she's like, because this is a big allegation. And I'm just, what? Like, how could you say that? How could you still question it? She never knew I was listening under the doors all of those years. She still doesn't know that I would listen to those conversations. I remember my dad had a conversation with me a little bit after it came out. And he was like, I don't remember my dad ever doubting me. But he did question. I don't know if that's the same thing. I remember we were outside of my grandma's house and it was just me and him. And he was leaning against the screen door. And I was standing right there by the pole. And he was like, it was kind of dark at this time. And he was like, your mom thinks that you watched a movie and that you are telling people that it was you. That she thinks that I started saying these things because I watched a nasty movie as a kid, or that when it came out, and then I dreamt about it happening. And I was like, she told you that? And he was like, yeah. And he's like, I just want to ask you, like, did this happen to you? Like, are you sure it happened to you? And I was just like, yes. Yeah. I'm sure it happened to me. I didn't cry. I don't cry in front of people. I try to hold back. I cry now all the time in front of everybody. If you're around and I start crying, I'm very emotional. Because I finally opened up my heart to Jesus. So I'm very emotional all the time now. In front of anybody, if the time becomes present. But at the time, I was just like, yes. It happened to me. And he's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, because, like, My mom told me not to tell nobody, and it was just like, I wish you would have told me. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, like, it's here now. But time passed. Life was different. My mom started dating different guys. I was living my teenage life in junior high. It was all in the past. But I still resented my mom. I still would look at her like, I didn't care what she had to say, especially if she didn't let me do anything I wanted to do, because, or if I didn't do something she asked, I would just be like, well, you never did that for me. I always looked at it as a, well, you didn't do it for me, so why should I do it for you type thing. We never got along because of it. I didn't care what she had to say. I always did my own thing. And I wasn't a bad child, like teenager. The most I would do is talk back to her. I never cussed at her but once. Because she's very strict, and I called her the B word one time. Like, why do you have to be such a B? And I pushed her, but I didn't make her fall. She was just all up in my face, so I pushed her back out of my face. Because we were always butting heads, because I didn't have no respect for her, because she didn't have no respect for me. And then I remember finally moving out and with my boyfriend. And that's a whole nother story. A whole nother story that I'm not going to get into right now. That's for another time. But this all happened, and I remember my mom, before I moved out, took him back. They started dating again. He wouldn't stay in the house anymore, but he was coming around slowly. And I would just like, hey, and I would walk away, and I would go to my room, and I would lock my door, especially if he was there when I was going to bed. I remember being so desperate one time to go to a friend's house, and I didn't have no one to take me, and he offered, and my mom said that he had offered to take me, and I was like, oh well, like at this time, like I didn't care. I was like, I want to go to where I'm going, take me there. So he came and got me, and I remember my mom bringing it up one time, like, why, if this bothered you so much, like, why did you have him pick you up? And at the time, it's because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I didn't care who I got it from. It was just hanging out with my friends. Like, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't start drinking till I was in high school, out of my mom's house. Well, no. But, like, I didn't drink, like, heavily until after I graduated is whenever I kind of started drinking heavily after I had my twins, 2019. But they were born 2016, so that I didn't start drinking heavily until 2019. I smoked weed, took my first hit in high school. No, it was junior high. Okay. I smoked weed. Whoop-de-doo. I wasn't on no drugs, like, I did sneak out, but my mom never knew that. So, like, in her eyes, all I did was smoke weed and talk back to her all the time. That was it. But